Hello, I'm Steve Hemmond from the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools, MARS. As part of our professional development program, we are producing video clips that will present different aspects about the operation of a regional school district from the viewpoint of school committee members, superintendents, business administrators, and staff. This program is titled, What Happens When Your Budget Fails at Town Meeting? I would say to you that it's very important that the superintendent, school committee, and business managers clearly understand the process that they have to go when a budget fails at town meeting. For this program, we have Stacy Jackson and Julie Kelly. Stacy's a former member of the Wachusett Regional School Committee, and Julie is also a former member of the Wachusett School Committee. It's my pleasure to introduce you Stacy Jackson and Julie Kelly.
Can we go to the first PowerPoint? How it all begins. The budget as adopted by Regional School Committee and the members' assessment as certified by the treasurer of the regional school district shall be placed before each local appropriating authority for its consideration. Now, the local appropriating authority is your town meeting members or the appointed members or elected members, and some towns that do that. It is not the Board of Selectmen. It is not the Finance Committee, as some towns would lead you to believe. Next slide, please. The Board of Selectmen have the sole purview of the annual town meeting warrant articles and accordingly may elect to separate your school budget assessment into categories such as your minimum local contribution would have its own line, warrant article, transportation, debt and operations in your amount over MLC. As long as the breakdown is reflective of the total assessment, this is an acceptable practice, and it's actually advisable because sometimes when you have that total amount, it can be overwhelming to town meeting attendees and they want a breakdown or more understanding of what you're asking for. Next slide, please. Notwithstanding any provision of law to the contrary, the superintendent of schools of a regional school district may, on matters relating to the regional school budget, address the membership at a city council meeting, a town meeting, or a meeting of the town council in a municipality having a town council form of government in cities and towns within the regional school district when the regional school budget is being considered. It is common practice at a town meeting for the moderator to have anyone who does not reside in the town to sit in a certain area of the room. You are not allowed to address the meeting in open, you can't go up to the microphone and ask to speak unless you have permission from the town moderator, and the town moderator requests permission from the attendees of the meeting. A superintendent does not necessarily live in that town. However, they do by law have a right to present at the meeting.
I'd like to add to that is that what I would recommend to superintendents, if you're not a member of that town resident, is that you would then speak to the moderator ahead of time, saying that you would like to speak, and that the moderator then, when you do speak, would say, yes, so superintendent, we recognize you, and that superintendent has the right to speak. But again, talk to the moderator ahead of time. Don't wait for the time all of a sudden when you want to speak.
Also note that any handouts that the school district would like to provide, you do require the permission of the town moderator before you can pass that out to attendees. However, Steve, in his practice as a superintendent, has documents on hand, and if he's requested, because it is an open meeting, and open meeting law requires that whatever you're looking at be available to the attendees in the audience, make sure that he has enough. That has been your practice, correct?
Yes, it is.
Next PowerPoint, please. If a local appropriating authority votes to appropriate a lower amount than the assessment is certified by the treasurer of the regional school district, such vote shall not constitute approval of the budget as submitted by the regional school committee. The regional school committee may consider such votes when it considers the budget pursuant to 603 CMR 41053. So on occasion, you're going to have the Board of Selectmen and FinCom may recommend an alternative dollar amount that was certified by the district treasurer, and the town meeting members may support that recommendation. That practice is only acceptable if the town meeting members were provided the certified amount by the treasurer as voted by the school committee and elected instead to approve a lower amount. While the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education would consider that to be a rejection of the school budget, Should the committee vote to reduce the budget to meet this figure, the budget would then be considered accepted. The Board of Selectmen and FinCom may also recommend a lower amount with additional amount contingent on override ballot questions. This is also legal, and it's actually a common practice. You may also see a town meeting member attempt to amend the number up or down from the floor, which some town moderators in town council may or may not allow. Can we go to the next slide, please? Reconsidering the budget. If a budget is not approved by 2/3 of the members, the regional school committee shall have 30 days from the date of disapproval by more than 1/3 of the members to reconsider, amend, and adopt a revised budget. With the approval of the commissioner, the 30-day period may be extended an additional 15 days. Where the local appropriating authority is a town meeting and the annual town meeting is dissolved prior to voting on the budget shall be deemed disapproved by that member as the date of the dissolution. When you get your rejected budget back to you for the school committee, you don't necessarily need to amend the budget. They just need to reconsider it, so you can send it the exact same budget back out, and you just do a better job of advocating with parents and town residents to get it passed. Or you can reduce it to the amount that was approved by some of your member towns that effectively rejected it by approving a lower amount. For most regionals, annual town meetings fall between April through June timeframe, so a rejected budget will trigger a 112 budget beginning July 1st until the budget is resolved with the member towns. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in a couple of slides. Can we go to the next slide, please? Within 7 days following the regional school committee's adoption of a revised budget, the treasurer of the regional school district shall calculate and certify the assessment of each member and shall transmit the assessments and a copy of the revised budget to the members. Each member local appropriating authority then has 45 days from the date of the regional school committee's vote to meet and consider the revised budget. And if they choose not to meet or hold a town meeting, then they accept the new revised number by default. Next slide, please. The approval of the revised budget shall be set forth in 603 CMR. If a local appropriating authority does not vote on the revised budget within the 45-day period, as I just said, the member shall be deemed to have approved the revised budget. And the next slide, we're going to turn over to Steve.
Thank you. In a regional school district comprised of 2 members, if the revised budget is not approved by both members, the regional school committee shall again reconsider, amend, and adopt a revised budget and shall convene a district-wide meeting of which the revised budget shall be placed before all voters to vote at said meeting. Now, what would happen basically is that in a 2-town, only the 2 towns, any more than 2 towns, they don't have to follow this procedure. They then would call for a district-wide meeting, and all voters coming in from, it doesn't matter which town they're in, they all vote on the budget that is going to be presented. If again they should vote it by 2/3, should be passed, then if the that's a majority vote at the meeting, not a 2/3. It's a majority vote at the meeting to approve the budget, then it's passed and then they move forward. If they vote not to do that, then it's not an approval, and then it'll go back to the school committee again to be reconsidered. This can be a timely process, but the regional district is responsible for calling the meeting, where the meeting is going to be placed, and all the expenses of that meeting are the responsibility of the district. Also, I should add that the district, when they do, they get to choose, the selectmen from each town would meet and get to choose who's going to be that moderator. It doesn't have to be a moderator from either one of the towns, but a person to be the moderator in that. Suggesting that you take a very good close look at looking at 603 CMR 41.053F. Again, both regulations and law you should look carefully at if you have to have a district-wide meeting. Next slide, please.
When the budgets continue to fail at different town meetings or district-wide meetings, the district is forced to operate in a 1/12 budget. So if the operating budget for a regional school district has not been approved by July 1st, the start of the fiscal year, the superintendent of schools shall notify the commissioner of DESE, and the commissioner shall establish an interim monthly budget. That monthly budget shall be 1/12 of the school district budget from the prior fiscal year, or a higher amount as the commissioner deems necessary. The interim monthly budget shall remain in effect until the operating budget is approved pursuant to 603 CMR 41053 or December 1st, whichever comes earlier. So a district operating in a 1/12 budget really puts the district in a significant cash flow strain. And this is an issue that needs to be monitored very, very carefully by school committee members and by the business manager. A lot of times, depending on when assessments come in and state revenues come in, it really poses a real fiscal challenge for some districts. So that's something that really needs to be monitored carefully. Is some districts will say, let's hold out, let's keep reconsidering that budget, but you need to look ahead and find out what impact the 1/12 budget is going to have on your cash flow.
So through the summer months of July and August, you're dealing with accrued payroll, which is cash that you have on hand from the previous fiscal year to pay your 26 weeks out of your teaching staff that chose to be paid full year. Once September hits, that's when your school is back in session and all of your appropriations start to climb. And that's when you have an issue staying within the parameters of your 1/12 based on the previous fiscal year.
Next slide, please. Then the commissioner steps in. If a regional school district's budget has not been approved by December 1st of the fiscal year, the commissioner shall assume fiscal control of the regional school district pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 16B, and 603 CMR 4107, and shall establish a final budget for the fiscal year. Now, the commissioner, him or herself from DESE, will likely send some representatives to come in. They'll be taking a look at the district's budget as well as the ability of the member towns to pay. And the commissioner and or his or her designees will be setting that budget. So it's something that they come in and they assume fiscal control. You never know what's going to happen. The commissioner could have very significant differences and very significant opinions than the member towns or the school committee and the superintendent of schools. So you kind of leave things up to his or her discretion how things are going to go. Next slide, please.
Just one comment. So when you go back to town meeting and the Board of Selectmen have chosen to break up the budget into 4 areas, and the town approved the MLC operations, debt and transportation, but rejected your amount above MLC, the commissioner is going to take that into consideration. Okay, we have 5 towns or 4 towns or 3 towns that already approved MLC, which they have to pay. They've already approved the transportation and debt. So we're really just talking about the operations, which is the amount over MLC. So it's another good idea for you to encourage the Board of Selectmen or support the Board of Selectmen breaking out your budget into 4 different areas.
But would add that if they disprove any one of those 4, you do not have a budget. So that correctly, so everybody clearly understands that all parts of it, total up, have to be approved at the town meeting. So one of those sections is not, you do not have a budget.
Next slide, please. On the final budget, whenever the commissioner establishes an interim or final budget for a regional school district under the provisions of this section, the treasurer of the regional school district shall calculate and certify to the members their respective assessments, just like they would in a typical fashion. Every member shall pay its respective assessment in accordance with the payment schedule by their regional agreement. So nothing is changing there. They still get their assessment letters. They are still required to pay their assessment. The appropriation of funds to pay an assessment ordered by the commissioner under 603 CMR 41054 shall not be deemed approved by the municipality of the district budget. So one thing to note here is when the commissioner sets the budget, the commissioner is not coming in with any new funding streams. There is no more money that the commissioner is bringing in. The commissioner is not allowed to raise taxes either. So the commissioner is coming to set the budget and require those assessments based on what monies are available at that time. So the commissioner cannot change tax rates. The commissioner cannot bring in any new state revenue. Next slide, please. When the commissioner has control, there's a number of things, number of powers and rights that are stripped away from the school committee, which you must be mindful of. The commissioner has control of the adoption or reconsideration of the budget. the transfer of budgetary authority between line items. So currently, school committee is allowed with the proper vote to transfer funds, from salaries and benefits to instructional supplies. When the commissioner has control, only the commissioner can do those transfers from those main item appropriation lines. The commissioner has control of encumbrance or expenditure of funds not included in the general fund budget, control of borrowing, new or amended collective bargaining agreements. So if you are in a situation where you're negotiating with your teachers union or other unions, the commissioner assumes control of that. So you are removed from setting any new union contracts. It also includes any new contracts or amendments with a value of $25,000 or more. So if you are currently negotiating with your superintendent, again, the school committee loses that right and that power to do that, and it is deemed under the commissioner's control during that time. And establishment, increase, or decrease of user fees. So again, these are the areas where the commissioner has control over. So there are some areas where school committee is relinquishing some control.
I would add to the commissioner's control is what the commissioner would appoint an overseer, and they actually have a control board that would be meeting with the district. They would operate, and then any of those expenditures that was just outlined by Stacy then have to be approved by the overseer and their board. So they have control of the expenditures with that, but you still operate, but you don't have the total freedom to make all the decisions without their approval.
Next slide, please. The commissioner may also impound any unencumbered funds for such period of time as he determines. So everything is up for grabs here. Anything that's going on in your district, anything unencumbered can be used based on what the commissioner looks at the total picture there. May undertake any initiatives that he deems necessary to secure the financial stability of the district. So again, kind of looking at all areas and seeing what funding streams could be used or could not be used. He's going to take a look at that. And as Steve said, may designate a person to act on his behalf. And that wraps up that presentation. We appreciate your attention, and we will have more presentations coming soon. So thank you very much.